Aim low. And I don't mean don't aim, and I don't mean don't aim up. You can set yourself a goal that you can attain, and there's not going to be much glory in it to begin with. Because if you're not in very good shape, the goal that you could attain tomorrow isn't very glorious. But it's a hell of a lot better than nothing, and it beats the hell out of bitterness, and it's way better than blaming someone else. It's way less dangerous. And you could do it.
Nobody throws more dirt on your name better than someone who's scared you gonna tell people the truth, the real story. The loudest lies come from the ones that's terrified of your truth. They drag your name through the mud cause they know you got receipts. Funny how they talk crazy about you, but panic when you start speaking facts. A guilty person go lie their hardest just to stay ahead of the truth. They'll paint you as the villain just so nobody asks what they really did. When they scared of the truth, they start throwing dirt heavy. The more they trash your name, the more you know you holding something real. They ain't protecting their image. They hiding what they did to you. People who know they did you wrong will go to war with your name before they face the truth. They assassinate your name because they know the truth will bury it. Ain't no hate louder than someone scared you gonna expose them. They gossip heavy because the truth from you will hit harder. So like I said, nobody throws more dirt on your name better than someone who's scared you gonna tell people the truth.
One man versus his own mind. I seen this quote and it had me thinking, sometimes a man's worst enemy really is just his mind. I feel like we as people nowadays overthink about the littlest things that it gets us so paranoid and anxious that we sit and think about every bad outcome in our head. Your feelings and what you watch online, all of it correlates to your thoughts and your feelings through your mind. Even when you've been having a great day, when you get home and you're alone with nothing but your mind, it's sometimes the loudest thing you've ever heard. Your mind, it speaks to you in ways that your feelings can't even catch up to yet. The emptiness and loneliness of nothing but your mind is so filling in a way it's like you're in a room crowded of people. And when you start overthinking about things, it will grab onto you. It will, and it will not let go until you know that whatever you were overthinking about is fine. Overthinking in a man's mind can lead to not only anxiety, but also depression. That's why it's so important that if you are overthinking about things, that you talk to someone, because your mental health matters. And I know how it is not to have anyone else but your own mind.
Adam and Eve have 2 children, Cain and Abel. So those are the first 2 people in history, because the Garden of Eden doesn't count. And they're the first 2 people who are born rather than created. So they're the first 2 people. And that's a hell of a story, because it's a story of fratricidal murder that degenerates into genocide, flood, and tyranny. So that's fun for the opening salvo of the story, let's say. And Abel and Cain both make sacrifices. And for some reason, Abel's sacrifices please God. It's not exactly clear why. And Cain's don't. Now, there's an implication in the text that it's because Cain's sacrifices are second rate. God says that Abel brings the finest to the sacrificial altar. He doesn't say that about Cain. So you could imagine that Cain is sacrificing away, but he's holding something in reserve. He's not all in. He's not bringing his best to the table. He's not offering his best to God. And so Abel thrives like mad. And everyone loves him. And he gets exactly what he needs and wants, exactly when he needs and wants it. He's favored of God. And Cain is bearing this terrible burden forward and working, and his sacrifices are rejected. So he gets resentful, really resentful enough to call God out and say something like, "This is quite the creation you've got going here. I'm breaking myself in half and nothing good's coming my way. What the hell's up with that?" And then there's Abel, the sun's shining on him every day. "How dare you?" It's like, okay, but this is God that Cain's talking to. And so God says what Cain least wants to hear, which is what God usually says to people. He says, "Look to your own devices. You're not making the sacrifices you should, and you know it." And then he says something even worse. He says, "Sin crouches at your door like a sexually aroused predatory animal, and you've invited it in to have your way, to have its way with you." And so he basically says, you have allowed your resentment to preoccupy yourself And now you're brooding upon it and generating something creative, new, and awful, possessed by the spirit of resentment. And that's why you're in the miserable state you're in. So then Cain leaves. His countenance falls, as you might expect. And Cain leaves, and he's so incensed by this because God has said, look, your problems are of your own making. And not only that, you invited them in. And not only that, you engaged in this creatively. And not only that, you're blaming it on me. And not only that, that's making you jealous of Abel, who's your actual idol and goal. And Cain, instead of changing, kills Abel. Right? And then Cain's descendants are the first people who make weapons of war. And so that's, okay, you want to know what I think? That's the eternal story of mankind. And it's playing out right now.
If you ever think that you're great, that's the minute you slide. And that was always for me. Somebody asked me, so when did you realize you were great? I said, never. I was like, never.
When you retired?
Yeah. I never sat back and counted my chips because I was always afraid that if I slid at some point, then somebody's going to catch up to me. Like, is somebody going to, and the thing is, I'm telling everybody what I do working out. You can see it. It's documented. Can you commit to it? That's the thing that greatness supplies us all, is the ability to find what it is that you can do well, but can you commit to it? Everybody in the beginning of the year is going to win the NBA championship. Everybody in the beginning of the year wants to make the All-Star team. Like, everybody has these goals until it gets hard. And when it gets hard, oh man, coach don't like me. I want to get traded. This player, screw him. That's what the bad teams do. And even the good teams, when they hit that stride of complacency, mediocrity, like struggle, they just talk more.
You grow in proportion to the weight you take on voluntarily. And it's also true that we have no idea what the upper limit to that is. You've met remarkable people in your life. People can do remarkable things. And there are inevitably people who took on remarkable burdens. And because they did that, their development was forced by necessity. They were forced by necessity to grow beyond what they were. And who knows what the limit to that is?
If you keep going every single day and don't stop, your competition will fall off, bro. These ain't cut like you, bro. They ain't ready for prime time. They ain't trying to really get right. They take days off, this day off, that day off. They lazy. I'm tired. No. Grind every day, one foot in front of the other, bro. And I promise you, you're gonna be lapping these folks, bro. You can't be sitting here every day being piss poor expecting to be successful. That's not how it works. Every single day, it's clockwork, grind. And what you do is not gonna cut it. So don't be sitting here surprised when you live in an average life because you're doing average things. Simple as that. Hey, bro, look, good days, bad days, keep going. See, look, me and you both know life is unpredictable. But the one thing that you should be able to predict is the fact that you're gonna show up the next day. You should be able to count on yourself and know that when in doubt, you got you.
The easiest thing in the world to do is to complain, blame, and quit and settle. That's the easiest thing in the world to do. But it takes real work to deconstruct and to reconstruct the thought process and the mindset of an individual when they're trying to change something. That's why I always say to people, what's more important, what we acquire or who we become?
Say twin, I ain't like everybody else. I want you to win regardless whether I get a piece of the pie or not. It just bring me joy seeing you happy, seeing you smile, seeing you bow. I watch you work hard. I watch you not give up on yourself. I watch you fight. I watch you stay calm in the storm. I watch you overcome every obstacle they got through at you. You deserve every blessing God sending your way.
In order to become the better version of yourself, you literally have to kill off your original version. Because if it lingers around, it's going to find you again.
I had to invent a guy that didn't exist. I had to invent a guy that can take any pain, any suffering, any kind of judgment, be called whatever the fuck in the world and be able to stand in the fucking room and say, go fuck yourself. I had to build this callous mind, and I built it through suffering.
Time to become a man. Walk forward, peripheral vision. Get it. Own yourself. Walk forward with more courage and start becoming the man you want to be instead of acting like it and putting it off.
This is your new life. Take it or leave it. There's no happiness about it. There's no peace behind it. It sucks. It just fucking sucks. But you have a choice to make. Do you want to sit down and go back to that guy you once were? No. So this is what it takes.